not working on my computer. So that's fine. I can see everybody. All right. Seeing that it is now 6:03, we will call the October 18th Planning Commission meeting for the town of Hideout to order. This meeting is being held via Zoom and in person at Town Hall. It's also on YouTube channel for anybody that wants to view it now or later. First thing, call to order. Second thing is roll call. Witness?
Here. Oh, thank you. Yep.
Donna?
It'll work? Yes.
Jonathan? Rachel?
Here.
And Joel and Peter will not be able to make it tonight, so they are absent.
I'm actually here, Tony.
I think
Oh,
Joel
thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out of it.
Next on the agenda, approval of last month's meeting minutes from September 21st. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to the draft that was sent to everybody? Okay, there being no response to that, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move that we accept the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Thank you, Glynis. Does anybody second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, Glynis,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Jonathan's excused tonight.
Rachel,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
and Tony's a yes. Okay. That being said, now we'll go on to the only thing on the docket tonight. To discuss and possibly make a recommendation to the town council regarding a master development agreement regarding the Bloom and Hideout development. Thomas, do you want to take us through the deck, or do you want to discuss the MDA first?
You know, well, why don't I do this? I'll walk you guys through the
Have we
project.
gotten a response from them in regard to what we sent them back that we redlined when Jonathan and Glynis got together?
Yeah,
with you?
Jonathan, Glynis, Polly, and I met with Jenny and Ryan to go over the MDA. And so the red line packet, or the red lined MDA that you saw in the packet, was the generally agreed upon MDA. That's up for discussion tonight. Jenny and Ryan had reviewed that, and the one that, again, you saw in your packet, they had noted some comments on the MDA, and so that is up for discussion tonight. Absolutely. And so maybe what I could do is just spend a couple of minutes reintroducing you guys to the project, since it's been a few months anyway, and letting you know where maybe some minor changes have been made to the concept plan. Then it's probably worth having Jenny and Ryan kind of walk through their slide deck, some of their updates, just to, again, to kind of give you guys that holistic review, and then maybe jump into the MDA, if you guys are okay with that. So the last time you all saw the application was on June 22nd. At that time, the Planning Commission had made a recommendation to forward the application for rezone and MDA to the town council, just for input, kind of a work session input opportunity, and then have the town council remand it back to the Planning Commission. That was scheduled for, I think it was July 13th. The applicants ended up pulling the application. They withdrew it the 12th or the 13th of July. They were going through some contractual negotiations. They pulled it to kind of work through some things before presenting it to the town council. And so it was a withdrawn application, and it was then resubmitted, kind of unpaused, if you will, on September 25th. They decided to come back. So at that time, with the pause unpressed, they went to the town council, because that was the next meeting scheduled for them that they had missed. They went to the town council. presented the overall Bloom development, some of the changes, what their thinking was, just to catch town council up, got some of the input needed from the town council. Town council did what you asked them to do, and they remanded it back to the planning commission. And so here we are. So with all of that being said, Alicia, I think maybe you're driving. Do you mind scrolling down a little bit? Let's see, I'll go parallel with you. Yeah, so maybe get to the background there. So just as a reminder, this is a project that is for the 70 plus acres that generally make up the east side of the property. There's a map on the page below, which we'll get to in just a second. But it's worth noting that, again, the 40 acres where the house is, the pond is, the Salzman house, that most of you, I think, have either visited on a site visit or you certainly know of, that is not being proposed for a rezone or part of the application. That would remain zoned mountain residential. You could scroll down a little bit, Alicia. Here you can see what's proposed. The zoning proposed for this area would be a mix of neighborhood mixed use NMU for the hotel and commercial areas. That's kind of on the portion of the property closest to SR 248. Some R3 for the residential 3 for the proposed 12 single family detached units. Some residential 6 or R6 that's proposed for the 84 townhomes and the 53 cabins. It is worth noting that there was a discussion before the planning commission to consider the creation of a new zoning designation that would accommodate the cabins. At the time, they were really being referred to as casitas. So there was a discussion regarding an RC, a residential casita zone. It looks like that may not be necessary, and potentially the existing R6 residential 6 zoning designation would work for those cabins. The casitas are now being considered cabins, cottages. And so I'll let Jenny and Brian walk through that a little bit tonight, but it may not be necessary to consider a new zoning designation. The other zoning designation that they're requesting for a portion of the property is natural preservation, NP. That would be for the open space, parkland, and amphitheater section. If you don't mind scrolling up a little bit, Alicia. I think the next page, yeah, this is the map of the area. So the top map shows the full 112 acres. On the left side of that is the Salzman house and property. There's a parcel line that bifurcates that from the 72-ish acres that is under discussion for tonight. And you see on the map below, if you scroll up just a bit more, Alicia, you'll see that down there. That's the property in question. That's right. If you don't
Question.
mind, go ahead.
What is to the right then? What is that property
To the right, it's under private ownership. It is the area that surrounds the access to Golden Eagle. That's actually under another private ownership. It's also not part of the master MDA, and it's also not part of this application. It's separate private ownership.
Okay.
Is there any property on it?
Say that one more time.
Or is there a house or any other property actually on that land?
No, there's all of that land is vacant.
Okay.
Yeah. Alicia, if you don't mind scrolling down a little more. Again, this is zoned mountain residential. That's the existing base unit, which is 1 unit per acre. By the time you put in infrastructure, rights of way, open space preservation is required by our subdivision ordinances, et cetera. This probably has a build out capacity of about maybe 60 or 70 units on that 70 acres, give or take, kind of rule of thumb. I won't walk through the ERUs. Those are just a part of our existing zoning ordinance. We can come back to that if you want. If you scroll to the bottom of that page, this is the property in question, is that east parcel. And for that 70 plus or minus acres, the proposal is for 217 units. That's down a little bit. The density's reduced a little bit from what it was when you last saw it in June. I think at that time it was, I'll get this slightly wrong, so bear with me, at 233, 239, something right around there. So it's down a little bit. That was based on the access road that is now cut in that goes up to Golden Eagle. for emergency access. That eliminated a couple of the lots. They looked at the applicants looked at the slopes, et cetera, and ended up having to pull a couple of additional units off. So now it's down to 217 units. There's still the 30 to 35,000 square feet of neighborhood commercial. That has not changed. The multifamily is 8 units. That would be the units that are on top of the neighborhood commercial development. And then the boutique hotel remains at 60 units, but each unit's a lockout. So it would have 120 keys with the lockout units. 53, again, casitas are now cabins. 84 townhomes, I think that might be down a little bit. And I think single family lots are at 12. I think that's down just a little bit from what it was initially. Again, the west parcel will remain the same zoning, mountain residential. You can scroll up a little bit, Alicia, or I guess scroll down. Keep going. This is the site plan. I won't go through this in much detail. It's a little bit hard to see. I think Jenny and Ryan have some slides where they'll kind of zoom in on it a little bit, but you'll note that some of the the casitas at the time, now they're cabins, that were separate from the majority of the cabins have been eliminated. They've been incorporated into the cabin area, which is at the top right of your screen. And the townhomes have been reconfigured just a little bit, but otherwise there hasn't been any significant changes other than at the bottom right of the property, the bottom right of the map that you see. There was some large lot single family. I think there were 3 or 4 in that corner. Those have been removed, and now that helps a little. Thanks. And now those, I think, are the some cabins over there. So the cabins are all on the right, the east side of the property. Again, I'll let Ryan and Jenny walk through that because their map is a little bit better and they are able to zoom in a bit. If you don't mind scrolling up a little bit more, Alicia, to the next map, you'll see the proposed zoning map. The left side is the 40 acres for the existing house. That's mountain. You'll see at the top of the 70 acres, kind of the yellow area, is residential 3, the single family residential development. The green area is natural preservation. The orange area, which is below that to the south of the green natural preservation area and to the east of that area for the cabins, would be the R6 residential 6 zoning, a little bit tighter, 6 units to the acre. And then the bottom section, which would front SR 248, is being proposed for neighborhood mixed use. That would accommodate the hotel and the commercial pads. If you don't mind scrolling up a little bit more, Alicia. I noted the potential change in residential casita. I won't walk through that. I won't go through the master MDA issues right now. There's some phasing after that. Jenny's going to walk through that, and I am going to, unless there are questions, I think I'll turn it over to Jenny and Ryan to walk through kind of the proposed zoning phasing, the new concept as slightly revised. Unless you have any questions for me, they'll have some much better slides in terms of being able to zoom in and get a better feel for it. If none, Mr. Chairman, are you okay if I turn this over to Ryan and Jenny? Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I think Ryan and Jenny are there in person.
Yep,
I think.
here.
Okay.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks for that. So we're in person tonight. Please let me know if you can't hear me or Ryan and let us know, because it's just a different situation than being at home right in front of your computer. Okay, great. So I'm Jenny and this is Ryan. I feel like we're familiar with most people on this. I do see a lot of names on the screen, so a lot of people joining. If you're new to this, we've probably presented it over 6 times, so I don't want to bore everyone with explaining who we are. But just high level, we are local developers. We are really invested in Hideout. We have 6 properties that we're building spec houses on. We really believe in this place. We've also been part of 50 transactions in Hideout with wonderful owners. So we are very much local and believe in this place like all of you do. So thanks for spending your time here. We just want to quickly go over the concept plan again, because we did pause, and I just want you all to know we appreciate all the time you spent. We were pausing to get more information. This is a very important development to the community, so we want to make sure that we do everything right. And we're excited to unpause and be back and have you all welcoming us back. I do need to say again, I have an Aussie accent. I said that last time and someone appreciated it. The new people, I am from Australia. So if you hear some twang, that's where it comes from, but I've been in America 20 years. Ryan doesn't have the accent, but sometimes he tries to mimic me. Okay, so Bloomer development, I'm gonna go over it a little bit. He'll pipe in every now and then. And then at the end, I'm gonna go over the MDA open. I don't like to call them issues, they're open conversations. And then Thomas and I will just talk through the MDA, however that flows, and get your feedback and everything too. So just going into the Bloom development, you can see here in the beautiful pink, this is where it's at. So just to get a high level, you're coming up, it's right opposite the lookout. On the right, you see the Bloom entrance right in the middle. And then you have Golden Eagle on the right-hand side of it and Tuhei. So just to get an idea of what we're talking about there. The land, for those of you that haven't been on it, is absolutely beautiful. You probably drive past it a lot if you're going out that way to Camas. You can see on this image, this is the easement that was cut through by the developer on Golden Eagle property. So that is actually in for emergency vehicle access right now, but that would be the middle of the plan you're gonna see, and that will be the road that will be the heartbeat going through the development there. This is the views of the development. So you can see it's why we're all in Hideout, right? Because of these spectacular views. So a very gorgeous piece of property. Now we do want to let you know that we've gone, we really heard loud and clear that commercial is important to all of you. And so we have leaned in more to the commercial strategy. We wanted to show you a vision of the 35,000 square feet so you can understand what that may look like. So we have that as 4 buildings that go along the road. Those 4 buildings would be roughly 8,000 square feet. So if you think 5,000 square feet on the bottom, 3,000 on the top, and maybe an outdoor area on the top of these, that sort of gives you an idea of these 4 building sizes. We have, we're really wanting to bring the branding of the boutique resort community to life, really working with lifestyle and working with Hideout's beautiful landscape. So we are calling them earth, water, fire, and air, just to keep the branding alive. So you can imagine in the earth, what do we have? We have a 3-day market there where you can get your food from the earth. Market example would be a small corner market that you'd see in a local community. This isn't a grocery store. You can go 5 minutes down to Camas to get the store there, or you can go another 12 minutes out to Whole Foods. This would be things like your eggs and bread if you're coming for a 3-day stay. Then maybe a cafe or a breakfast place. Examples of that would be like a 5 Seeds, a Harvest, a Ritual. So really a community-driven cafe. We really think it's important in this commercial area to be sensitive to who the Hideout community is. And so we want the Hideout community to feel like they belong there as far as the pricing of who we attract, what that is. We would like you all to come to this 2 to 3 times a week. So we want to make sure you're included and feel like this is something that you would visit. Restaurant examples, feelings would be Midway Mercantile, Hearth and Hill, a Blind Dog type feeling there. And then in the commercial, we also have the hotel as well. So here's a little bit more of the commercial vision. On the bottom left, you can see the 4 buildings there looking out at the view and the parking behind us. So as you enter, you'll be able to go straight into the commercial. On the bottom right, we feel like a rooftop restaurant would be wonderful. So we're putting that in there because that's what we are really hoping to attract. You can see the building sort of designs that we're hoping for too. I do want to let you know, we've also brought onto our team Katie Wilking, and she's here tonight, and Jill Snyder. They're 2 of the top commercial real estate agents in Park City. I would like Katie to speak for 30 seconds on her passion and excitement of what she feels by being brought onto this team too.
Thank you. It's nice to see everyone. Thanks for having us. When we met with Jenny and Ryan, we get approached a lot by developers. And I was born and raised in Park City, so I watched the changes there, good and bad. And, I was so excited to have them because of their passion for the project. It wasn't just about putting as much density as big as you can, making the most money and just filling it up. And we've all seen a lot of commercial projects fail and maybe have a second life and now they're working, but when you just have vacant space, it doesn't work for anyone. And it doesn't look very good. And so from the commercial standpoint from us, the excitement that these guys had really excited us and about bringing something that works for the community. It's very hard or impossible for a lot of us to go eat on Main Street in Park City frequently. They have great restaurants, but it's not something that's attainable for everyone. And it might be for special occasions, but what we've talked about from the commercial is, the smaller market type where if you're living nearby and you needed ibuprofen or you're going home and you wanted to cook eggs or you're making something that you just needed a quick grab and go would work. And like they mentioned from the food standpoint, having something that you could go to multiple times a week if you needed. If you were heading home and you just needed some really delicious dinner because you had a long day, you could pop in. You wanted to celebrate, you could go there. And part of the other beauty of what they put together is it's not just a giant block. They wanted to really work with the landscape and the views and have something that fits with a community feel and still has a lot of character. And so we were very excited with the kind of tenants that they wanted to bring in. It wasn't just about maxing things out. And so I've talked to a couple people of ideas of what could happen out here with local people that have been also very excited about it. And I think having something that people can come to, it can help people not have to drive in the traffic into the towns that are there right now. And there's a lot of development that's coming. So with having commercial, you guys can, get some of the revenue that comes from it. And it's something that will create a really fun spot for, for tourists, locals, families, whatever it might be. So it was a breath of fresh air to get the call from these guys and get to work on something like this. So I'm very excited and I'm happy to answer questions now or later.
We can do them later, but first off, how confident are you that we can get commercial out here?
I'm extremely confident, and part of that being is, again, from their vision of, when I get the call and they say, what are the rents on Main Street? That's what we want. That is kind of disheartening sometimes. And so, again, certain properties it works for, certain ones it doesn't. And so just in the initial conversations that we've had with tenants that we've worked with in the past, the demand that's out there, and the kind of people that really want to be in Park City and Heber, so some in Wasatch County combined. But it's either there's not enough space or it's not the right space for someone. I think that this offers that for local artists or someone who's had a restaurant that they want to keep going, something like that. And so then just the initial, since we met with them, putting feelers out there, very casual, but putting feelers out there, we've had a lot of interest in it. So I feel very confident in this. We just need the buildings. So you guys work on that.
Okay. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
So that's the update to the commercial that we've done since we've last presented. Also, open space vision board, I do want to let you know that we've been listening on that as well and how important community spaces are. I know that that's in our plan. We have decreased the density because of the easement road, but also because of open spaces too. And so we just have a plan here. You can sort of see a lot of the green space that's going to be natural preservation, which Glynis actually was a big part of in our think tank session of helping us bring this together. So this is an early draft of that I just wanted to let you guys know you'll be seeing too. And then just high level concept, I think Thomas touched on it all. The changes from last time we presented are really just to simplify. There's nothing huge. It was all the casitas were sort of spread out. We put them together. Same with the single family lots, we made them come together. Everything else is pretty much similar to what we had there. We did move the amphitheater down. It was in between all the townhomes. And so we moved that down into the neighborhood mixed use so that people could walk over from the hotel and commercial and not have to go into the residential area as well.
And we also took away a few townhomes because we wanted them to not be so vertical. So we made the pads a little bit wider, which brought our number from, 96 to where it is now.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, looking at this drawing, it's looking like they're more like duplexes. Are they duplexes or
Yeah,
are
like
they?
twin homes is the majority of them. There's a few that are 4, but the majority are twins.
And we've been working with architects since then and just had some concept ideas, so I just been sharing that with you to show that there are 2. So we were taking away the 4, so it sort of felt more open.
It's our vision, rooftop decks. The views are incredible. It's what we want. Rooftop deck on the restaurant and the townhomes as well.
Take advantage of the view.
Yeah. So then this is the rezone plan. And so this is one of the reasons we're here tonight to get a recommendation on this, to go to town council. And Thomas has worked with us very closely on this. It's actually a lot more simplified than when we showed you before. Self-explanatory, the red at the bottom, like he said, is the neighborhood mixed use. Keeping that close to the traffic. There's a lot of studies that the closer you are to traffic as a commercial partner, the more you get people coming in. So just that's a strategy there, but also keeping out of view the busy from the Golden Eagle neighbors and community too. This is on the downward hill side. So we're keeping sort of the busy out of their view and keeping the view open to them on their beautiful lots. Because we're gonna be seeing all of you at the cafes and we want you to be happy with us too. And then you see R6, instead of the casita zoning, R6 makes it very simple. We don't need to go then through and all guess, what is a casita? How should that look? When you think of cabins, think of promontory cabins, think of Victory Ranch cabins, they're very proven concepts that people can understand. Whereas casita zoning is unproven and we would all be doing that together. So this de-risks that. It helps us set us up for success by using a proven formula in this beautiful resort town. So that is the zone plan. So Thomas, I'm gonna go now to the MDA, sort of high level things, and then we'll go to the MDA in general, but feel free to jump in, Thomas.
Sure.
So we have been working on the MDA for 4 months with Polly and Thomas and Justin, our lawyer, and us. Glynis and Jonathan have joined us for 2 working sessions. So this is a collaborative effort. We believe we can all win in this, and it's been a really amazing experience to have the feedback and hear things. We feel like we have been collaborative and listening to everything, so please let us know if you don't agree. And we're really down now to not many open items. So I've listed the open items on here, but if you all have a copy of the MDA, this is on the last page. If I've missed anything, Thomas and I will make sure to mention it tonight. So I'm just going to go over those open items now. And the goal would be that we will agree on a recommendation so that we can then have this recommended as well. The open items, the first one is the preservation of native vegetation. I'm wondering if I then go to share this MDA, Thomas, so you can see the wording that the think group, what should I call this, working group suggested. Do you want me to switch to that for this?
Yeah, if you have the red line, since you're sharing now, that might be the easiest.
Okay. Stop share, and then I'm gonna start share again. So. Oops. I thought I had it up.
Yeah, are you there?
I'm in it, right?
Yeah.
The one-
We can see it.
Okay, I'm trying to go to that page where we have all the end page. Did I just get past it quick? Why, I
It
don't know.
doesn't look like you're moving on the
Oh.
screen here.
Okay, I'm in the wrong one on my screen. You are looking at another one. Hello, Jenny. You can, I'm smarter than your computer. There we go.
You're
Is it moving
scrolling
now?
over
There it goes.
like, moving over there.
Oh my goodness, who brought me into this? Okay. So Thomas, I'm going to that last page. This one. Okay.
Can you tell us what page, you know?
Yeah, so this is page 14. So above that is the MDA, and it's a pretty much a template MDA for developers with communal red lines between the town and us and we've all agreed on it. This is discussion items that were important that we felt like you should all, we should point out and talk about. So I'm
And Jenny,
going
if I could just interrupt for 1 second, just for Rachel and others, it's page 38 of your packet. It's page 14 of the MDA, but it's page 38 of the PDF. Sorry, Jenny.
No, that's totally fine.
Thank you.
And so I'm looking at this section here. And so I just want you all to know that Ryan and I have read it and think that's great. So it would just be if anyone else wanted to offer anything. Thomas, do you want to explain what it is, or do you want me to explain?
Go ahead. I'll infill as you go. That may help.
Okay, this was a suggestion from your working group representing the town to have a preservation of native vegetation and slopes. So the goal is to not disrupt the land, minimally disrupt the land. So as we're building out this development, if we don't need to dig and wreck the land, we won't do it. So the suggestion is to not dig beyond 20 feet of houses or the structures. And then for driveways, not go further than 10 feet beyond the edge of the pavement. And then have other areas of disturbance, of limited disturbance. So if we don't need to go there, we're not digging there. So that was the idea of it. And we are passionate about that, being people that live in the area too. When you see a developer just ruin Mother Nature, yeah, it's sad. So we are very passionate about it and would love to have this in the development agreement.
And so just so the planning commission understands, this really has two components to it. The first one is kind of a holistic map that would identify maybe those large areas that are off limits from development. Maybe it's the natural preservation area. Maybe it's just an open space area that is non-disturbed. Maybe it's between the cottages and, the cabins and the townhomes. Those areas identified on the map. These are kind of the areas off limits undisturbed, but also noting that on individual lots around individual construction sites, there would be limits of disturbance set in accordance with the code and in accordance with this MDA. So it's got a smaller scale component as well as a larger scale component to it.
Can I go to the next one now? Okay,
So I have a related question.
Yeah.
Not so much disturbance, but there are limits on the amount of fill that you could put in that you build on. You may have noticed we had a couple of twin homes, I think, because they were built on like 20 feet of fill. It wasn't impacted properly. So I'd like to avoid that
yeah,
in the future.
we would too. So, yeah.
And I think part of how we avoided that is we stayed off the steeper slopes, like the 30%, and I don't know what those are on, but just staying off those will make the grades, they're much more workable.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to dig down, but to fill in, it took problems to do on the steep slope. You dig in one side, you fill in the other. And we've had some problems with, quite frankly, I think the existing MDA doesn't allow or doesn't require what the state requires, which is every 1 foot of fill be compacted. And they compacted the last 1.5 feet or something, and so they got homes that are falling down. And you definitely don't want that because it's far more expensive to fix that than it
Yeah.
is to
Ethics,
to
we
compact. If you do, you gotta
100%
compact
agree.
every foot.
Yeah.
And core samples need to be taken and all that to ensure that. Right?
Yeah, and Thomas, and Justin, our lawyers on the phone too, and they would take the notes and, yeah, we agree with that essence. So however that needs to be, I'm not sure if it's in city code or in the MDA as well. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so the next topic is the standard for the hotel. It was brought up in the working group that, we just want to be sure we're not going to bring in something that is not the same essence of the community that lives in Hideout. So this isn't going to be I know this is a public meeting, but a Motel 6. If they're listening, we love you, but that's not what we're envisioning. So in essence, we agree to a standard that will be a place that us as a community would visit if we traveled. We aren't exactly sure how to do that, but we are happy for that recommendation of how the planning commission wants to word that, and we can take that to the town council and then work out what is a win-win on that. It was suggested maybe on stars, just for some education on stars. Every star means you need something in the building. So when you go from 2 to 3 star, you now need a restaurant and some other facilities. You might need a spa as you go up to 4 star. It doesn't mean the quality of the brand that we're attracting and what they're gonna build. So, it could be that it's a 3-star minimum hotel, and by 3-star minimum, we're talking the AC hotel that's by Whole Foods, that's 3-star. You had some other examples of 3 stars.
It says here New Park.
New Park, yeah, down in Kimball, that's a 3-star. So it may be that there's a 3-star minimum, and there's, if it's a national brand, that it just needs approval if it's under that by the town council, or there could be some wording there to get the same essence.
What is Black Rock Hotel? Yeah, is it
It's
rated?
a 4, I think 4.5 because of their amenities. They have the restaurant, full restaurant, and the,
Fitness.
the fitness and the pool and.
But no Motel 6,
No Motel 6, you can put that in
even though they
there.
do leave the light on for you,
Yeah.
that's okay.
So that's the essence of it. We are happy with this was the wording that was recommended by the, planning commission group, or the group that got together, and so we're happy to go through that, knowing that that's the essence of it. We want to attract the best person here for the financial ability, and we want it to be somewhere that we would stay when we, as in the Hideout community, you would stay. We don't want something too expensive that you wouldn't even stay there to take things to.
Well, we feel also the 4 stars, maybe a little onerous for our location. You know, the only thing that's 4 stars or above, outside of a mile from the ski resorts, is Black Rock. Everything else is lower than that, so, you know, we feel like 4 might really actually hamper the type of hotel that we're able to bring in here.
So that's that one. Thomas, outstanding items. So I guess it's just picking a number and recommending it. So we suggested 3-star, but maybe with some caveats that if it's a killer national brand that wants to do something creative and it's not that the town can say yes. Okay.
Right. Or even a boutique hotel. I think you had talked about, Jenny, if something like that came in, maybe having a clause that allows for town council approval or some sort of mechanism if something quite unique
Yeah.
and fitting comes along.
And for instance, the hotel that we're working with right now, they're not planning to put a restaurant in the hotel, which we actually like that because then that will help the restaurant that we plan on putting in the commercial. So are we shooting ourselves in the foot by saying, oh, they have to have a restaurant, have all these amenities to then reach a certain star level when we're gonna have it right outside the hotel? So that's something to consider also.
And star level doesn't mean
Quality.
quality.
Yeah, I like the term boutique hotel
I like that too.
myself,
Yeah.
because I like to stay in boutique
Right.
hotels. Because they're always a little different
Yeah.
or neat.
Intimate.
Yeah.
But then, that's that one, the vertical construction on commercial pad for phase 1. This one isn't really an outstanding item. But it's worth bringing up, so you all know that it's being added. We, in our phasing plan, where we phased this out, we only had the timing that the commercial pads would start, so that's just the concrete infrastructure on the pads, it's not actually the building. And we had when that would start and end. It was pointed out to us that we didn't have when the vertical would start and end and be ready. And so we added that and updated it to Alicia and Thomas 2 or 3 days ago. So we've now updated that, but I did want to point out that that was new because it wasn't in there, if any of you had looked at it before. Thomas, did you want to say anything about that?
Nope, I think you covered it, yeah.
And then this is the wording that was suggested, and we're happy with that wording to be recommended. Number 8 is commercial requirements. This is just saying, Thomas, do you want to explain this? I can explain it from reading it. But
So the idea here was there was some planning commissioners, I think it was at the second to the last meeting, maybe not the last one in June, but at the second to the last meeting, there were some concerns that if the commercial space didn't lease up right away, we all understand that the commercial, by being a portion of part one is coming before the rooftops, and often retail follows rooftops. But there is a significant amount of traffic along SR 248. And so we're trying to get commercial in, again, a portion of as early as possible. There were just some concerns that if it didn't lease up right away, could it be converted to something else? And the planning commission had asked for some language noting that it could not be turned into something else, that it would remain commercial. And I think Jenny and Brian have been committed to that. They believe in the commercial in that area as well. The strength of the city's finances as a result of sales tax revenue is important. And also, as Katie noted, they've expressed a real desire to work closely with the early commercial vendors that might go in there, recognizing that it may be certain rental concessions, et cetera, to get them in there. So this is an attempt to start some language that would note that it may take it may take a little while to get them in there, to get commercial in there, but that in the absence of getting commercial in there, it wouldn't turn into something else. It wouldn't revert to, say, residential or otherwise. Did I cover that, Jenny?
Yeah, you covered it great, and there was suggested wording by the town, and we're fine with all the suggested wording as well on that one. And then this is what I have as the last sort of outstanding item was the monetary contribution to the town. So Ryan and I, we put an amount of money for something in the first time we were going through, and we feel like that was uneducated. We feel like we just picked something and it wasn't really knowing what the town needed financially. So we took it out. We're not saying we won't do it. We just feel like it needs to be a discussion, educated with what the town actually needs and what will make us thrive. We also feel that there could be better ways for us as developers to help this project thrive. And we just want to make sure we have room for discussion with the town council versus recommending a complete, it has to be this. So the working groups come back with sort of this language here, just saying that they recommend that there's something that they'd like the town council to consider and work out what that is and have something in there. We added a fourth of the three suggestions from the planning commission, just because we don't want to not tell the planning commission anything. We don't want to get to town council and then discard what you said. We want you to hear what we're going to say in town council and then put it through to town council. So we will want to speak to them about potentially dedication of money, that money or a portion of it or whatever it is to incentivize the commercial tenants. So typically in a development, you build density first and the commercial is in a later phase. For us to move commercial up, we don't want it empty, we want it thriving. There could be significant incentives that we as developers will give to, well, there is going to be significant incentives, and that's like rent incentives. So they will come in and believe in us and we'll have a thriving commercial before we have all the density behind it. And so that is a cost. And so we just want to have that conversation. Is if we're doing this cost, or do you want us to put it over here? Do we, where do we want to do it? So this is more a team bullet point between Hideout and us. And so the way it's written here, it's sort of left open. And if you guys are okay keeping that fourth one in, we just wanted to make sure you knew that we'd be talking about it as well. So that is what I think is all of the outstanding items that we didn't agree on. So going to pass to Thomas, I think, but what we would really like is a recommendation on the zoning to go to town council and a recommendation on the MTA.
So at this point, it may be helpful if the planning commission has any specific questions. If there are additional questions relative to the MDA, that would be helpful to us in terms of, has something been overlooked? Have we neglected to incorporate something? Glynis, you may want to speak a little bit about the subcommittee, our meetings, our initial thinking, if you have anything to expand on. If not, maybe we could have a bit of a discussion about the MDA. As we noted, we haven't incorporated these issues that you just went through. We haven't found exactly where they'll go inside the MDA, where they'll live in the actual document. They have to be incorporated in. But this is our early thinking. If there's anything we've missed or you want to expand on, we're certainly open to input.
Yeah, one thing we didn't cover yet that we as our working group had discussed was the nightly rentals. I don't know if everybody noticed it in the MDA. I'm looking for it now. But instead of doing the nightly rental ordinance, putting it in the MDA was a way to not have to expand it throughout the whole town, and we can just put it in here.
So Glynis, you bring up a great point. I should catch the planning commission up in case you didn't hear the last council meeting. You forwarded the short-term rental and commercial amenity overlay ordinance to the town council. They had a short discussion and opted to, I think, table it, or I think they continued it actually, because the state law changed in May, June, I think it was. Polly will be more familiar with that, exactly when it changed, which
It was
gave,
May.
it was May. So it gave communities, towns, cities, jurisdictions a bit more authority to incorporate zoning items, air quote zoning items, into MDAs, even if those zoning items didn't live anywhere in your existing town code. Prior to that, for example, to allow short-term rentals by way of an MDA only would be was somewhat cumbersome and difficult. And so that was the reasoning that we moved forward with the overlay ordinance for short-term rentals. When that changed and language got much more definitive and clear based on the new state statute, over the course of the summer, communities, the League of Cities and Towns and others provided better and more definitive information to communities that noted that we could incorporate those kinds of things into our MDAs. Even if they're not in our ordinance, we can put them in our MDAs as long as we address any changes, and MDA approval, the process has to be similar to that, has to be the same as the way we would do an ordinance. So publicly notice, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's probably an easier way to do it. I think many of you had concerns with having an overlay. Could it end up in being applied in an area that you didn't think it was appropriate for? And so the idea of going with the MDA is probably better in terms of providing authority and ultimate designation by both the planning commission and the town council. So that's kind of the direction the town council is now recommending, which is probably a safer, more conservative approach. So if you were going to consider and allow nightly rentals, which I think that folks have generally agreed makes sense in the Bloom development, that nightly rental allowance would want to be allowed for and described in detail in the MDA. So we'd wrap that in.
What page is that on?
I can show you, I've got my screen still there, if you want me to.
Okay.
Thank you. I searched for it.
No.
It's up at the top.
I think it's 2.5 on page 4. Or 29, yeah.
And we do want to let you know, we shared, the red line version that the working team did, and we agreed to all the red lines. So we wanted you all to see. It was easier for you to see what was suggested by your cohorts. That this can be locked in.
All the
And-
lawyer stuff was not me. Jonathan, he's the lawyer. I just got the numbers.
Yeah, he did some impressive things.
And just so planning commission and Jenny and Brian aware, I think one of the items that was briefly discussed at the town council meeting would be that, we could incorporate some of the conditions, the criteria that were included in that draft ordinance. So maybe those get included under section 2.5, just so that the criteria hold steady and that there is some authority for the town to regulate short-term rentals. We do have a small section in the town ordinance that addresses short-term rentals, because we do have them at Claim and in phase 1 of Deer Springs, as you know. But we may want to include some additional conditions. So much of that language could simply be lifted and carried over to this MDA from that draft ordinance.
Right, and don't, yeah, because Thomas, then we discussed that at length last month, and we came up with a, for lack of a better term, a ratio in regard to doors and commercial space.
That's
Didn't
right.
we?
Yeah, we did. We had I think it was 2,000 for every 25. And so we could look and see if that ratio applies here. We can adjust accordingly so that it fits this project. And again, some of the conditions with regard to parking and requirements for EMS personnel and fire department review inspection if needed. Some of those conditions you may want to incorporate in here, and that, again, easy lift from the draft ordinance to the MDA.
What's the square footage range expected for the cabins?
For the cabins, 2,000 and 3,500 square feet. So like a promontory cabin, 3 to 4 bedroom.
And are you still, so you are planning to do the flat roof still for them?
So we all talked about that. So thank you for bringing that up. We agreed to 30%.
Yeah, which is in the town
It's
code.
in the town code. So we basically are doing what,
Looking at that.
it's in here, but it's in the town code too. So we're doing what code is for that.
And just for clarification for everybody, the way the town code reads at present, it's 30% of a unit can have a flat roof. And I think you guys are proposing 30% of the, let me just read this, of the roof. It's almost the same thing. It's slightly different, but you can have a slightly different requirement in the MDA. Again, that changed in May, that it can be significantly different. This would only be slightly different, but the intent would be the same. 30% of what you see would be flat. We can tweak that as needed, but the intent is roughly in line with where the ordinance is. But the ordinance is a little bit unique in that it's 30% of a single structure's roof can be flat. Beyond that, it has to be 312 pitch, which is pretty shallow.
I didn't have experience with flat roofs and they're not great. Just so you know. So that's just my past experience, and Thomas understands them from the Jersey Shore. But there are plenty of townhouses that have flat roofs, but they're elevated and you can have decks on top. And it's kind of incorporated in part of the home. You really don't see it from the front, but you have a great view. But
That's what we
it's a lot of
envision.
upkeep,
Yeah.
just to FYI.
Hey, Jenny, it's Joel Pieper. I have a question about the cabins. Are these going to be, I know the casitas, we were talking about them being a resort type casita. Are the cabins going to be privately owned, independently owned? Are they going to be resort style? Or what is your vision of the cabin?
Yeah, so we have visions, and you guys can work out what the worst case scenario is as you approve this, and the best case scenario. Just keeping options open for the market and what the demand is. Our top vision, and we would love to hear what your vision is that it's owned by one entity and it would be a resort. And so that's why we put all of the cabins together to make it much more easy for that. On the bottom right of the map 2, where we had 4 single family homes and we changed it to cabins, we added a clubhouse up there. So we envisioned that this would be owned by one entity. It would be, a resort type community. Think of it as 53 hotel rooms, which also brings in the money to, Hideout. We do have backup plans if that doesn't happen. Ryan and I know how to build, that's what we do. So we can build these, make them beautiful, and then they would become individually owned, but we would control how they look and all look the same. And then they would be added into the pool of rentals that way. So we sort of have 2 plans, one that we can control if we can't find that perfect partner. But we would prefer to have them as a resort, all owned by one person.
Okay, thanks. And Thomas, do we need any type of designation if it is a single resort, or are we covered with what we have?
I think we're covered with what we have. It may be worth incorporating a couple of sentences clarifying that in the MDA. But I think if we incorporate that, we're more than fine. It's interesting that you say that, because we did address that in the short-term rental and commercial amenity overlay. So yeah, probably incorporating those 2 sentences in here is worth it.
Great, thanks. And then I also have a question about the hotel. I know initially you talked about, a hotel definitely with restaurant space. So sounds like you're going away from that now. The only thing I would recommend to the planning commission that we discuss is 3-star or AAA 3 diamond rating. That's pretty vague. I mean, it can have a restaurant, it cannot have a restaurant. So I think for everybody's sake, I know a restaurant was a nice amenity for a hotel. If we want to designate that or not, I would say somewhere in the language. So we're just more specific on the type of hotel that we may see there.
Well, I think you said you're gonna have a separate.
Right.
restaurant,
Yeah,
Gives you more
so,
flexibility.
So, yeah, it's just dependent on who we get. We could get a large national brand that's an amazing, one that we're talking to. They're not specialists in restaurants, they're specialists in making epic hotels, and so they prefer us to have the restaurant out of it. Another one we were talking to wanted the restaurant in it, so it just keeps open to who it can be.
We have it working, the hotel can go either way though, right?
Yeah, right now the hotel
Right,
could
that's
go
right.
either way.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the hotel have a restaurant if it wants.
Okay, thanks.
I had a question also about retail or restaurants. We were talking about that the commercial space needed to be, either retail or restaurants, cafes, market. What about it? Will that limit you to maybe if it was like an exercise studio, something like that, that isn't a restaurant, cafe, or a market? I mean.
I took it as it was walk-in, but,
Okay.
that's how I read it, but I'm not legal or a lawyer, but I figured you could have a yoga studio, it was walk-in.
Walk-in, so I just want to
Yeah.
make sure the MDA doesn't just say, I forgot what page it was.
So that's important to you, is what you're saying, is that,
Yes,
Yeah, I agree.
cut up.
like you don't want to restrict, it said something office. We don't want office space walk-in, but I think it was back down again.
So it's page 14,
Of the NDA, but it might be on a different page of theirs.
Yeah, it is.
part 31.
Yeah, so the first floor space must be reserved for walk-in commercial space such as retail, restaurants, cafe, bar, grocer, sundry purposes. Offices uses shall not be permitted on the first floor.
Okay,
Yeah, page 39.
all right, I just wanted to make sure it didn't just. You weren't restricted to, it could be something else besides. It could be like I said, I'm just thinking the exercise, especially if the hotel doesn't have a spa.
Yeah.
Gym, they can go and maybe, get a few yoga classes, Pilates, whatever, and do that. And it's so popular in Park City and how many Pilates studios there are. and yoga studios, and I'm like, well, you know, maybe they can use one of your
Fitness, yeah.
fitness,
Like it.
fitness oriented.
Yes.
Happy to add that
Jen?
word in if it.
Oh, yeah.
I just
How
didn't
far
want
along are you, and when do you think you might have some type of agreement as to what hotel or hotel chain it is? Because I'll be honest with you, I have a hard time approving this without knowing what kind of building and what name is going on it that's going in there.
Yeah, and Tony, that is great. It's like the chicken before the egg, so it is hard for us. The hotel don't want to put in money to do due diligence without the zoning. Right now, the land is zoned mountain residential so for us to shop it around to hotels, is that they're not really taking us seriously. The moment you approve zoning, that is when we can get that for you. And so you're not approving the hotel by approving zoning, you're saying that the town wants a hotel in this location, in this spot, in this development. That's what you're recommending as okay when it comes to zoning. There will be ample opportunity when we bring on a hotel where they will have to then present and do design guidelines and everything like that, and their building permits as well for the town to have those decisions. I'm hoping that answers you. I totally wish we could say we have them locked in, their money's hard. It's just we need zoning for them to believe us that they can actually be here.
Well,
Thomas,
the reason I ask is because I know you had, there was a gentleman here from another chain at one point, and I know Jonathan spoke to him, and I don't know if Glynis did also. Then he gave us a website of the type of hotel that they were looking to put in. And he did say it would be 6 to 8 months before they make a decision. But I went on that website, and in all honesty, it looked like a La Quinta Inn with bunk beds. It was more of a hunting than anything else.
So let me talk to that.
Yeah.
Because I was in that meeting, so he didn't point anyone to any material. It was the brand that they're creating, which is a Field and Stream brand. They partnered with Starwood Capital, which is one of the most well-known, well-regarded hotel developers in America. And so it's not, their plan is not a hotel with a bunch of bunk beds. Their plan is a hotel for outdoor enthusiasts. And if you bring your kids, hey, they can stay right next door to you, right? It's a very versatile type of hotel brand for active people that are traveling, riding their mountain bikes, their e-bikes, they're these new Mercedes vans where they need a place to park, type of thing. So that's the hotel that we've been talking to. They're still interested. They like to move forward on this project. They're just waiting for us to get to the place where they can actually do that legally.
And as far as the 6 months, on that call, they have 300 million ready to deploy, whereas a lot of other hotels have to do raising after. So they are ready today to build. The 6 months is normal process once you're ready and you have the money from finding. They already are talking to builders in the area and getting ideas of costs. So the 6 months is they're ready. If you Google Field and Stream, after that meeting, they did a press release about 6 other areas. We were the first at the time that had talked to them. Since then, they have now acquired 6 other places. And so they're very much concentrating on that. That's why it's sort of simmered. So we need to go back to them with the zoning and get it back up and started. But that was the interested hotel. Yeah, that it could be other people that are coming. We really believe in this area. And now we have this killer commercial team. We would love to tell you who it is and have them in. We just have to all work together on this process to get them in.
Yeah, as far as the timing, they very typical to do a phase 1 environmental study, which takes months and months, right? It's just the hoops that you have to go through when designing the hotel for the land, all that kind of stuff. If you built a house in Hideout, that could take a year just to do a house. So, you can imagine a hotel and all the hoops that you have to jump through with that.
I just had a very quick question on the last page. I think it was our page 39. It's just the wording. C, it says consider at the very last line, consider trances for payment. What is trans?
Tranches.
Oh, tranche.
Tranches, TRAUNCH.
I didn't, I understand.
Okay, I just did not know what that was. So no,
Is it a spell check we need to
it,
catch
I'm
here?
sorry. Is TRANCHES. Trances. I just was, we're doing trances.
We're not having transfer, you want that food with the yoga studio.
It's a 3-star youth hostel transient hotel.
Just to bring that to your attention, or somebody's attention. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was a.
Yeah, the idea behind that was just that maybe instead of a lump sum, that it could be segmented over phases in terms of payments. And so certainly we can wordsmith that. That was just for discussion.
We'll do it all once anyway.
So Thomas, can you step us through, how we
I have
might-
another question for Jen. Jen, is there any chance of us having a meeting with this person from the hotel that you're negotiating with? So we can see what they're looking to do?
Yeah, we had a meeting, already, but
We would love that. If
we
you
would love
wanted to
that.
meet with them, that would be
Yes,
great.
love it. Thank
Because
you.
it might answer some, because I don't think you quite have an accurate representation of that meeting, so for you to hear that firsthand, that would be
Would
great.
be fabulous. Yes.
And I have a question on that selection, and sorry, I still feel I'm new to the commission. Where does that fall in the line that we approve or don't approve? I guess I'll ask you, Thomas. I'm not sure who else to ask, but where does that fall, whether we can or we don't approve a hotel? If we don't like the chain, does that have to be written into an agreement, or what's that process?
You have the opportunity to write into the master development agreement the type of hotel. You can get much more specific if you want, but you have the authority to write in the type of hotel. That's why I think we were looking at maybe stars. I think you had noted maybe the diamond ratings. I think you probably want as much specificity without crossing a line that, puts the applicant in a very, very hard position, or
Sure.
having too many limitations, right? And so it's a fine line you walk, but I do think you want the specificity, but yet giving an opportunity for different entities at the same level that could potentially be a hotelier on this site. But it's all done in the MDA. None of that is in the ordinance.
Okay.
So, that kind of along that line, Thomas, can you step us through how we might be able to, vote on this tonight with any of these little changes?
Glennis, before we get to that point, I think we should get through this, because then I'm gonna make a recommendation based upon who's here and who's not here tonight.
And maybe it might be helpful. I think Cameron is on, and he could probably provide a little bit of the legal background with regard to the steps that we must go through for approving the MDA. Cameron, are you there?
Can you hear me?
There you are. Yep.
Yeah, so I just, I'm covering for Polly for this tonight. And so a couple of things from the legal standpoint. The next step would be to make a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the Town Council. And so that's going to be the final step that the Planning Commission would take. Before you do that, though, I would strongly recommend that we get a final copy of the MDA agreement. And so I think we're there in agreement in principle. We just need to come up with the language, but the specific terms and the specific language that we use is really important for the final agreement. So I would recommend that we get a final MDA agreement. And I also didn't recognize when I was scheduled to cover for Polly that we needed to send out written notice change. We really can't take action to recommend this tonight. I know that there is a time urgency on this, and so I would recommend we do that at next month's meetings. If that's going to cause problems with the developers, then we can certainly try and do a special meeting or work with the timing on that. But so I think for tonight, the discussion would be, and then get the finalized MDA agreement, get the notices sent out so that once the planning commission is comfortable, if the recommendation is to send it on, that we can do that at the next meeting.
Cameron, can I ask a question on that? I believe we
Sure.
sent out the notice. Thomas can let me know if I'm wrong, but I believe the notice was sent out on both of them. But I might be missing something. The second thing is there a way that we can say we all agree to these with these requirements need to be in, and it needs to be a complete, the MDA just needs to add them. So can they recommend, since we agree to everything and now it's just the fine details, but can they recommend that happens? And if it's put into wording exactly like we Essence said, can they recommend us go to town council with it?
Well,
Yeah,
Jen,
so
just
to your,
I'm
Go ahead,
sorry,
Tony.
Colin, but Jen, just speaking for myself, I would not be, I would not want to have us vote on anything that's not the final document. And that's my recommendation would be that final
We can just-
document in front.
On this document, and it's the document.
Yeah.
This is the final
This
document,
is-
Tony.
Not according to Colton.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think when we did the original notice,
Yeah.
it was for different zoning. So we would have to renotice again for what the zoning is.
We did the notice 10 days ago. The zoning hasn't changed since we submitted to you guys.
Yeah. I missed it. So we noticed it for the MDA and I didn't realize it was the zoning as well. And so
Well, that's disappointing. Okay.
We'll figure it out.
we will, so if we need to call a special meeting or whatever,
Okay,
then.
thank you.
And I
and
think,
Jenny, to your second question, yes, I think we can do that. I just want to have the final language before we make a recommendation, but that's up to the planning commission. If the planning commission is comfortable with it, they can recommend it that way. If they want to wait, they could also choose that.
Thank you. So from what I understand, the MDA has been publicly noticed, so the MDA could be voted on, or we could hold a special meeting at the moment if the red lines are taken up and everything's approved, which could happen in the next week. We don't need to re-notice on that, and they could vote on that in a special meeting. The zoning, we accidentally didn't notice the zoning. And so we could do that Monday, but we need 10 days before we could vote on that in a special meeting. From what I understand, once those two things are done, we could potentially get in before the next town council.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay, that sounds great.
And I'd also like to meet with the hotel guy before we vote on this.
The hotel is no LOI, they're not in this. So this hotel is zero in this. So what we're asking you to approve is the zoning that Hideout wants a hotel. I'm not counting on this hotel being the hotel. They haven't put money down, we don't have an LOI, this is air right now.
And the
We have-
pool's not conditioned to
We have
put in the
yeah.
an LOI that they sent us. What Jenny's wanting to say is we're protecting them. We already put them through a call. We put them through these meetings. We put them up through a call with Jonathan and all the questions and everything
And they
there.
don't, unless it's zoned, they
It's
don't.
like
want
at
us
what
to protect
point, yeah, they're like, at what point do we
Well,
put?
Ryan, you can protect them all you want, but we're here to protect the town, so, you know.
Well, you can refuse them if we get an LOI with them and you don't like them, but we need to know if a hotel can go here. Does the town want a hotel? That's what we need to know. We need you to tell us, do you want mountain residential or do you want a hotel? Because if we don't feel like you do, we would love to put 8 more townhomes there. We don't need to get a hotel and go through another partnership. We would love to. That would decrease the city's income $150,000 a year by putting 8 townhomes there. So we will come back with zoning, take the hotel out. If the hotel is really a big problem, let's not zone and say we want a hotel. We're asking you what zoning you want. We will work with you, but we can't keep doing this to help the city. What would help us is 8 townhomes there. And we will still make you $720,000 a year, but we won't make you $850,000 a year. And that's amazing. And it's easier for us. We don't have to bring in partners that are getting told there's 7 hotels being built. Why would you want to be in Hideout? Like, this has been really hard for us to keep the
It
hotel.
was a disastrous call, Tony. We just have to be honest. Jonathan said, why would you build a hotel here? Like, we can't have people telling our hotel partner this kind of stuff. So we have, I mean, we just have to be careful of the way this is presented and handled.
If I could jump in real quick, if that's all right, I don't mean to interrupt, but this is Justin Keys. I'm the attorney representing the applicant here. And I'll say I've practiced law in Park City for over a decade now, and there is quite a bit of interest in the area for a hotel with quality hotels. I mean, I know on a different site that I'm working on, we just turned down a Marriott hotel that just didn't work for what we were doing there. But I think the approach that your planner Thomas has recommended and that we've worked on together in joint sessions on 202s with planning commissioners is the best approach, right? Rather than, you don't want to write a specific hotel name into this development agreement because things change every day. I think the correct approach is the one that we've tried to address here, and that is to put language in there ensuring that it's the type and quality of hotel that you'd like to see in the location. I think one aspect of that we didn't talk about tonight that we did talk about in 2-on-2s is also adding some architectural guidelines specifically related to the hotel so that you can kind of regulate what the exterior of the hotel will look like and it's in keeping with what you'd like to see in your community. I think we can do that and alleviate your fears, and that would be strike a better balance for the applicant and the town and protect both of their interests better than trying to interview and find and line up a specific hotel to operate in this location before approving the development agreement. Because like Jenny and Ryan said, until you actually have a hotel approved in this location, it's hard to truly shop the market and get the best deal with the hotel. Once you have those entitlements, and I've experienced this, once you have the entitlements, then you have something that you can really show them. Look, we've got 120 keys with lockouts, 60 rooms without the lockouts. How does that fit with the model that you're proposing? Right now, all that Jenny and Ryan can show them is we've got an opportunity here. It's currently zoned mountain residential, but trust us, you'll be able to build a hotel there. They're not big on trust. They're going to wait until something is entitled there. But I think we can adequately address that in the language that we include, and we can turn that around quickly in time for an expedited hearing to vote on this. I think that's probably the right approach.
Justin, I just have a problem. You're asking us to do a zoning change, okay? So you could put a hotel there without us knowing anything about the hotel. To me, that's just not right. I'm sorry.
I totally understand, Tony, but I'll tell you that is the practice, right? I know of 2 other entitled hotels in Park City where the hotel hasn't gone in yet, and
With all due respect, I don't care about Park City. I live in Hideout. This is
I'm just speaking to the process is all. And it is difficult to line somebody up without having the entitlements actually there for them to make the due diligence investment that we're talking about.
So I know we have a 60 room standard there, but do we have like height restrictions?
Yeah, there's height restrictions in the code, for hotels, and the neighborhood mixed use has height restrictions on what it can be.
Whatever.
I believe it's 45 feet, Thomas, or it's 3 stories. There's a height restriction for hotels. And if you look at the grade down there where we've positioned it, it'll probably go halfway up the mountain if it's 3 stories. So it's not going to be anywhere near the top of being seen. It flows along. I do want to address, I don't know who that was talking, so I'm sorry I didn't say your name. But I do want to let you know that we met with the EDC several times, and before we even went and put this property on a contract and started, And the hotel came from them and making this viable and the most maximum income to Hideout. So the hotel didn't come from us, it came from the EDC. So I just want to let you know that when you're talking about zoning it, if it's a fear or you guys think it's a problem, then that's what zoning is. Do you want a hotel there? Picking the hotel is another topic. We as developers just need to know what the town wants as a makeup. And we feel really strongly that this is a very efficient plan for 217 units to have an income pretty much the same as a 600 unit proposal that was proposed before us is wonderful, we think, as Hideout residents, to really maximize the beautiful land staying there, but also maximize what Hideout gets. So just want you to know the hotel came from that essence from us.
Hey, Ryan, not to digress or to change the topic or anything, but I know in the beginning, the water was an issue. Have you guys acquired all the water rights?
We have in the MDA, it's specified in there that for every plat, there will be water sufficient for that plat. So we cannot record anything until there's water that's verified to the town, to the engineer, all the proper channels to supply for that plat.
At one point, you had talked about doing a well there. Is that still in the plans?
It is not. What we had talked about early on was possibly using the well for the house. And talking to the town's engineer, Ryan, he didn't feel comfortable with that. There's a lot of rigorous testing that a well would need to go through for municipal water to be able to use that. You know, they may work for a couple of years. The town would want to make sure it worked for 40, 50 years. And so that's why we agreed to just go through the regular channels of supplying the water through JSSD.
That actually better for the
Rights right now?
probably all the water contracts.
Ryan, do you have any water rights right now?
I do own some water rights, yes.
To
Who's
for
that
just
speaking?
the first phase or further along than that?
We haven't, we don't have all the water rights reserved now. We feel like that's premature. We've already actually spent money on water rights. But to be reserving water, paying money for water for any number other than just reserving it seems also to be putting the cart before the horse. There is water there.
So theoretically, we can approve all of this, and then you can't stick a shovel in the ground because you don't have the water. Theoretically.
I thought you
Yeah,
said,
we have, there's plenty of water.
I thought you said you had
You have
enough
And
for phase one.
theoretically, in the MDA too, if we don't start digging within a certain time frame, the MDA dissolves. So you are covered in that situation.
Well, Tony, I'm comfortable with, moving forward with this and I know the attorney does recommend having a final draft, but I'm comfortable with the comments and, the way as written with the corrections with this MDA as it stands, but I do understand that, having a solid copy in front of us would be beneficial to the town. I'm also comfortable with Jenny and Ryan's suggestion also and what they have proposed with the water rights. I am comfortable with their hotel selection. And I just feel like we're beating around the bush right now.
You certainly are entitled to your opinion, Donna, but I just don't think this should go forward vote or a recommendation or without a final. front of us. Along with Polly and Jonathan here who helped negotiate it.
And I think what I could do to maybe help this out a little bit is I think we now have all of the substantive input I think that we need for the MDA. So I think that we can find a place to put those various paragraphs as Justin noticed. I think we can get that in. I think we still owe the Planning Commission, I think it's Exhibit G or H, the architectural design guidelines. I think that we can get those in there, and we can get the map regarding non-disturbance, et cetera, incorporated in there. I think we can probably package that. Jenny and Ryan, I can't really see you terribly clearly, but I can't see if it's possible. Is that something we can get kind of packaged and done within the next couple of weeks before the next meeting? Is that pretty straightforward? And Tony, I mean, we could even have you, and if another planning commissioner wanted to form a little subcommittee to clarify the language with regard to stars or diamonds or clarification on that hotel, we could get together on that to finalize that paragraph, bring the MDA back in a clean slate with all of the exhibits. I think at that point, fully noticing not only for the MDA and the zoning designations, but also noticing maybe for the flat roofs, and there's a couple of other code components that are part of our development standards that are under our subdivision code that we may want to actually notice for too, just to make sure that we cover our zoning basis based on the new state statute. I think that we could pull that together for the next meeting, have a complete packet. Nothing would really be substantive at that point. It would simply be giving you the opportunity to review the MDA in a logical format and all of the documents. Does that make sense generally?
Oh, it does. And I would ask Joel if he would be available to look at whatever documentation comes across in regard to the hotel, because he works in the travel industry.
Maybe I could work with the two of you, and maybe Jenny and Brian, we could, and Justin, and we could finalize that.
From the hotel. If you guys don't want it, we need to tomorrow take the hotel out. You're saying now we have to wait 30 more days to get this done. We have 3 months to get this done with the sellers. We don't have 30 days. We have agreed to everything in your NDA. We're on agreement. We're a team here. We have all the information. We can get this in 2 hours. I can press accept on everything. I can get this back to you guys. The town made the mistake and didn't do the 10-day notice, so we couldn't do this today. Let's be a team here. Let's do this as quick as we can. If we can do notice on Monday, vote in 10 days, we are agreeing to everything. We want this to happen, but if we are hearing that you're not going to vote on this because we're not telling you a hotel or we have a hotel, we got to take that out. We got to tomorrow come back with a different concept plan with no hotel and 8 townhomes, because we can't keep getting stuck at planning commission. We've been here 3 times now on zoning. And we can't just stay here. This is not going to happen. So I'm asking you to talk about this and vote and listen to these people on your committee and not steamroll what they're saying. And let's do this together as quick as possible. 30 days, we can do it quicker than that. That's how I feel.
Well, with all due respect, Jad, you've been in front of us 3 times, and the project has changed every time you've been in front of us.
We've been in front of you 6 times. We have changed the project on your recommendation 3 times and got it approved. New people came to the planning commission and they offered opinions.
You and Brian were the ones 2 months ago who said you would, instead of building commercial, you were just going to build a concrete pad. That wasn't our recommendation. That's what you guys came up with.
We
Just let it go. It's.
Yeah. So if we,
can we go to the public? The public wants
They've been
this.
waiting for
They've
what,
been
an
waiting.
hour?
Can they comment on this? You're representing them, and I'd love to hear from the public listening to this right now.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions for Ryan or Jen? Okay, there being none, we will now open it for public comment. For the public, just be advised, if you're on the telephone, you need to hit *9. a PC, it's alternate Y, and if you're on a Mac, it's option Y to participate in the discussion. Once you come on, please state your name and where you live, and then your question. Thank you. Garth, you have your hand up?
Hello, can you hear me? Garth Rucastle.
Garth?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hey, Garth Rucastle, I have some properties in Soaring Hawk. Commercial development's a big thing that I think Hideout needs to solve. I've been listening into an hour. I think you've got a developer here that's trying to do the best by the community and work with the community. And I can now see why we're struggling to get commercial real estate in the area. And it's a bit frustrating as an owner of multiple properties in Hideout, wanting to develop and struggling to develop because people don't want to live in the area because of the lack of commercial properties. As a taxpayer, I think this is something that Hideout needs to solve. There's a proposal here, and it's disappointing to hear this conversation as an owner and a taxpayer.
Anything else, Garth? Don Blumenthal? Mr. Blumenthal?
Yes, this is Don Blumenthal and my wife Carlene Callahan. So we think this should move forward. This is
Do you state your address, please, sir?
yes, it's Soaring Hawk, 11515 North Whitetail Court, Soaring Hawk Hideout. And so we've been residents here for over 2 years, and we think this is a great move forward. We like the idea of commercial properties here that will increase the tax base very significantly. We also think that this is a great opportunity for us if we have guests here to have cabins available for overflow. We should just move forward on this. I don't see any real downsides to this. I mean, there have been some expressed, but I think they're not big downsides. I think we should move forward. This is we listened to the presentation at the town council meeting a few days ago, and we were very impressed by all of this. The town council was very impressed. So I'll let my wife Carlene talk.
We think that Jenny and Ryan have gone really beyond in trying to address all the concerns of the planning committee, and it seems like roadblocks just keep being put up and for their project. And it's very disappointing because we don't see any downsides. And most of our neighbors that maybe aren't participating tonight, but we have discussed this with, are really in favor of their plan. So we hope the planning commission will move forward tonight and not delay it further. Thank you.
Ma'am, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Have you called in and listened to every planning commission meeting that they've been scheduled for?
We've reviewed on YouTube. We've gone back and listened to those. So yes, we're familiar.
Okay.
We are familiar with the progress of this.
Thank you. Mr. Pickett. Mr. Pickett?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Hey. Hello, everybody. I got Donna and Tony's names. I didn't catch everybody else's name, but for the record, my wife and I, we live here in Soaring Hawk in Hideout. We actually have the extreme benefit of being able to look out clear across the Jordanelle. And that's one of the reasons we moved here, quite candidly. And so to hear that there's a development that does two things, right? Makes use of the natural landscape and maintains the open space with low density is attractive to us. but then also having the option for places to go to eat, rooftop decks that look out over the Jordanelle for visitors that come to visit us. I think that's important as well. High level, quite candidly, I've seen firsthand the quality of development that Ryan and Jenny are providing here, specifically in Soaring Hawk. They build beautiful properties, so I don't think that should be of any concern. Secondly, the concept of commercial development first, as an approach, I think is actually a big benefit to current Hideout residents, right? I know as we're talking through and listening to the specifics around the plan that obviously has been evolving over time, but to hear the specifics and where they are now with the plan, I think will be a benefit to future residents. But the commercial development first approach, I think, is a big benefit to current Hideout residents. Quite candidly, I forget who made the comment, but somebody made a comment about having to make our way toward Main Street. For any dining or other options, that's spot on. It'd be, in our opinion, really attractive, an attractive option to have, thoughtful development that has some commercial options here for the residents in Hideout, which we are. But then I also think, listening to the nuances of what's being presented tonight, and again, the maintenance of community space and open spaces and so forth, I think is dynamite. The concept of a boutique commercial development, and I know it seems like we're getting hung up on this hotel option, but to have boutique commercial development and hotel options, I think is really consistent with what first attracted us to move here to Hideout. I've been through a number of regulatory presentations in my professional career, and it's, I think, the best outcomes come from when private entities and government interests work well together and work well in partnership. And so I'm hearing a lot of that here tonight, and so I hope that that would continue, and I would actually encourage that to continue. And a lot of times in these situations, time is of the essence, and I can hear that in some of the back and forth. And so I would encourage that, we keep that in mind and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lawson.
Hi, I'm David Lawson. I own two lots, 24 and 27 in Soaring Hawk, and I own RC4 in Reflection Ridge. We're building a house, and I'm getting ready, or we're wanting to build a house for ourselves as well. And I don't want to just reiterate what everybody else said, but first of all, I've known Ryan for 20 plus years. I've been involved with a lot of his projects. In fact, one of our clients actually bought one of the houses that he built in Soaring Hawk. It was an absolutely wonderful project. But what we need, and I've lived over in the retreat for 10 years as well. And what we need more than anything is we need commercial, we need retail. Having another hotel is going to be a benefit, but we also, if we're going to want to really have this town take off, we got to get some tax basis. And I think all of the things that they're doing in this project are going to help with that. I also have been watching and talking to Jenny and Ryan with this project from before they even started with anything on it. I've kind of watched it, but the most important thing is they, in my opinion, have basically done everything that you've asked for. The issue with the hotel, I was involved with the Silverado, Sunrise, Escala, Waldorf Astoria, a bunch of the projects at the canyons. And one of the issues that they had early on was there was no restaurants up there, and it really hurt a lot of those projects. And I think if you guys can figure out a way and put in some regulations or restrictions on the type of a hotel that you want, that you're going to feel comfortable with, I really do believe that that will, you're going to accomplish what you wanted with it. And so I couldn't be more in favor of this, and I'd ask that you vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Carla, you have a question?
Yes, hi, I'm Carla Matthiasen, and I have my husband Mark here with me. And we are new property owners in Golden Eagle, and our property will be sitting right behind the single family homes that are going in. And I have called in before at a previous meeting, and we have been following, Bloom and Hideout pretty much the entire time. And Ryan and Jenny have been very open and honest and willing to talk about any issues that have come up, not only with homeowners in the area, but also with the council. And as a future homeowner there, I think having that retail space, that those, the restaurants, the coffee shops, because we are going to be full-time residents. It's not going to be a second or third home. We're going to be there year round. So having that commercial space is going to be exciting for us to get out of the house, to just go down the hill, to have coffee, the wine shop. We're also planning on this being our forever home and hosting family get-togethers and having family from out of town. So having the hotels and the cabins and the townhouses available is going to be a great benefit for us.
I'll call it, just so you know, just because their townhomes and stuff are there, that doesn't mean that people are going to be able to rent them, because that has not been discussed yet.
Right, but they would have the hotel, and that would be a great option for us. And if the rentals are available, that may be another option as well. And while we're building our home, it may be possible that we would need something to rent for that 6 months or a year, so we're on site as we are building our home.
Thank you.
That's your first renter.
Tony, I think
Mr.
Brian had his hand,
Question?
although maybe it's down now. There. Tony, I think there's Brian has his hand up, and then Jim Gruber, I think, is second.
Okay.
Hi there. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi there. This is Brian Amridge. I own 10761 Reflection Lane in Hideout Canyon. I'm going to be brief, just on principle here. I strongly support the project. I know Jenny and Ryan. I know they're responsible developers. I think they've got a beautiful vision for what they're offering here. I think it's something that the town sorely needs. And I could go on and on about why I think this is attractive as a homeowner and as a future full-time resident. But just on principle, frankly, I think the Planning Commission should get out of the way. I'm really disappointed with the process that I've seen on the town's part, both in the Planning Commission, from the mayor, and at the town council level, and the administration, frankly. Profoundly disappointing with the degree of intervention and interference that I've seen from you guys for a project the town desperately needs. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Say I strongly support this, and I urge you, as our representatives, to approve it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Gruber, you have another question?
This is Ann and Jim Gruber. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're from Deer Waters. We're on Overlook Loop. And we just wanted to express our support for the project too. we feel that the developers have worked hard to try to meet the metrics that the board has set up. We've tried to participate in the meetings where they've made their presentations and subsequent meetings to that. So we just wanted to add our voice to the positivity I think that the project brings to the village of Hideout, and hope that that consideration will be taken into account. I think that at some point we just have to jump in the pool. I'm not sure if perfection is attainable, but I think that the developers certainly have shown a willingness to be flexible and amenable to the needs of the town. And I think that good faith alone, they deserve the opportunity to continue with their project.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre.
Yeah.
Hi there. Good evening. My name is Greg McIntyre. I am a lot owner in Golden Eagle, lot 367. So that's 1882 East Peakview Drive. I've been helping the town with Hideout for months since they first came to have a get together with Golden Eagle landowners. We performed a survey, presented it to the EDC, and for multiple months this year, I was a volunteer helping the EDC, enough such that I guess some people started to wonder whether I was paid by Jenny and Ryan. I'm not. The funding or the results of that survey of EDC was probably that between 65 and 75% of the people in the backyard of this are in support of this project. They're in support of it because it's half the density of Boulders, and they're going to live right next door. And that, more than anything else, and they want to, is what swayed many opinions about what was initial unease about light and sound disturbance of an amphitheater, or what would be disturbances of nightly rentals. They've been approachable. They've tried to work things through. And I will share some of Brian's frustrations. The fits and starts of this is the pause was for a reason. And the hotel partner was away and there's no LOI for a reason. And I share that I do think this process needs to get over itself. And at some point, yeah, you want to make the right decision. But when I first bought land here a couple of years ago, the town had well over $1 million in a savings and reserve fund. Now it's scheduled to have 200,000 left at the end of this fiscal year. Huge deficits. And this is a proposal that can help stem that. And I really do not understand the notion that at least one person in particular wants to stare into the eyes of a potential hotel partner before they'll release this out. Because who's going to be accountable when this town runs out of money? I know you don't think about money, but somebody has to. And I think it's about time that, as Donna was in support of, that somebody puts a motion on the table and seconds it to force a vote soon, instead of all of this wait and wait and wait. I appreciate your time.
I take offense to your saying that nobody here thinks about the money aspect of this, because believe it or not, the members of this planning commission do take that into account, and we have searched for commercial projects that could fit into this area.
I understand, Tony. I really do. I'm not trying to be offensive, but I'm really not. And I'm sorry if it seems that way. But the reality is also multiple of the last developers who started to approach this town have withdrawn for various reasons. At some point in time,
could you name a few,
got to find
please?
something before.
Could you name some of them?
Did I meet some of them? Is that your question?
Could you name them?
So the Boulders withdrew, and Benlock
Who did?
Ranch has paused.
And Benlock Ranch is coming back on. The
And they
reason
may come
Benlock
back on.
paused had nothing to do with the town. It had more to do with Wasatch County.
And that may be true. But at some point in time, we have to decide what we're for instead of what we're against. And choosing not to choose is still a choice.
And just for the record, the pause because Mr. Saltzman pulled the plug on the sale.
I'll let you have the last word on it. I mean, you've not had anybody here thus far say that they're against it. Just at some point, we got to come.
So I just find it, I find it odd that everybody that's called in is on either side of the property.
Is that what you want?
Yeah.
The people that are most affected by this, what you want? What else do you want, Tony?
I want everybody, I would like somebody representative from the whole town, from each community in the town. Because if you're standing on this side of the hospital, you're gonna have to look at that hotel if it's built.
Can we have comments from planning commissioners of what we think about this? Because right now Tony's overriding everybody else's opinions. And I will start out saying that I am ready to move forward, and I think we're dragging our feet too long, and I don't think that the hotel issue is something to hold everything up, because I think the hotel, we can't pick a specific hotel, but as long as we have some guidelines that it's gonna be a decent hotel, I think everything's fine, and I think we should be able to vote.
Well,
Tony's the only one against it. I think the rest of us should be able to have.
Glennis, I think there should be more, you know, if that's the case, then we should put it over for a special meeting in 10 days or 12 days, whatever it takes, and then have more definitive language in the MDA in regard to the hotel.
Just for the record, Tony, that was Rachel's.
I'm sorry, Rachel. I apologize.
That's okay. Maybe we should have everybody else weigh in.
All right, well, I already weighed in, but I do reiterate that I'm comfortable with moving forward with the MDA as stated with the comments. I am comfortable with Jenny and Ryan's proposals, and you know, and everything that I've seen, I'm happy with, and they've bent backwards to so many of our requests, and a more open space. I mean, I can name about 15 of them, but you know, for essence of time, I wanted to know if there's anything we can vote on. Maybe Cameron can weigh into what we can, if there's anything we could vote on today legally, tonight to move it forward.
Donna recommended that we don't vote on it until we get a definitive, final MDA.
I have a proposal. If Alicia notices this tomorrow, we can meet on the 30th, and then we can vote on both the MDA and the zoning.
You could technically vote on the MDA tonight. if
I
you
know,
chose.
I know. I'm just suggesting that we vote on both of them at the same time, because we'll have the MDA complete. That makes sense.
Okay.
There is some logic to that relative to the short-term rental noticing as well. That would also have to be incorporated.
I was just gonna say, Thomas, to the other council members, the MDA as it stands now, I do not believe addresses short-term rentals.
Yes, it
Yes,
does.
it does.
2.5.
It does have a clause in it. It doesn't have the conditions or criteria, but I think Cameron, help me out here. I think we have to notice that because that's technically a zoning provision in the MDA. Is that correct or no?
Sorry, hold on. I didn't realize he
muted.
Cameron, can you hear us?
There we go. Cameron, you should be able to unmute.
Thomas, I'll just, if you can't get him on, I'll agree with you that that is the case based on the most recent. Anything that's considered it is considered a zoning act, so it does need to be noticed. And if it wasn't included in the prior notice, then we'd ask that it be included in the notice tomorrow.
We'd want to make sure that was thorough. Let's see. Alicia, just so you know, Cameron cannot unmute. Is there something you can do?
Try again.
You did note that is correct. We have to have that noticed before a vote. If would the planning commission do you have availability the week of the 30th? If we had to call a special meeting?
Yes.
Yes,
Make it happen.
Let's see, could you do, give me 2 seconds here. Could you do that Thursday, the 2nd? Thursday night at 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
That would make sure that we have, in addition, the 2 days to put everything together and for Alicia to get it noticed.
Do the 3rd, or is that Friday not good for?
That would, could we do the 2nd Thursday? The
I
2nd
have,
November?
I'll change my plans.
Well, or if Friday's better, if we wanted to do like 5 o'clock or something earlier, we could do that as well.
Friday doesn't work for me.
Thomas, it has to be after 6.
Has to be after 6.
Yeah, because we're noticing it for public comment.
Okay, so, or I'm just saying if we went to Friday, we could maybe do that, but if that doesn't work, let's say Thursday at 6 p.m. Does that work for everybody on November 2nd?
Yeah.
Tony, does that work for you?
Yep, I'll make it work.
Okay.
Thomas, does that still give us time to get in front of the county council at their next meeting? So it doesn't
Yes.
delay.
That would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With
Alicia,
noticing.
Sorry. Go ahead.
We'll just have to make a note that whatever notice we agree on for this meeting, we'll need to renotice the same for that town council meeting.
Notice just a few days later for the council meeting.
Yes.
So what I would do, Justin, is I would go ahead and notice for the council. So the planning commission, and then I would say upon positive recommendation, or upon a recommendation, then it would go to council on November 8th. So
Okay.
it would be for both.
So we'll send out both notices either
At the same
tomorrow or first of next week. Okay.
Yeah, I'll make sure that it's prior to 10 days. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. So what day did we decide?
We said Thursday, November 2nd at 6 p.m.
You're okay with that? Everybody's okay with that?
That's, I'll change my plans. I'll do it.
Take one for the team.
I'll do it. I'm taking one for the.
Cameron noted that would work as well from our timing perspective and his, so, okay. Tony, I think there may be 2 people that have their hands up, maybe from the public comment earlier, just for your information.
Thank you. Mr. House. Mr.
Yes,
House.
yes, can you hear me? This is David Holtz, and I'm right across the street on 10452 North Forevermore Court, and from the development, the Bloom development. I don't know why, Tony, you're upset about the hotel, and so I need to learn more. But in visiting with Ryan and Jenna.
Mr. Holst, just to clarify, I'm not upset about the hotel. I would just like to know the type of hotel that's going to be there before I vote on changing the zoning.
Tony, I agree 100% with you in the fact that I don't want BlackRock. I don't want to look up at the BlackRock Hotel across the street from me, because I'm right at the end of Forevermore on the cul-de-sac. And we have a beautiful home, great views. And knowing Jenny and Ryan, they're passionate about everything that they're doing. They're preserving the land, the place that we love, and they're not going to put up a hotel that doesn't represent them, because that's what they're creating and they're going to see forever because it's going to be there. So the architectural is what I want, and 60 units is not that big with another 100 and with another 60 on the backside. And more importantly, it does generate a lot of revenues. And the people that live here next to me, they like a place to go on a Tuesday. We had friends over last night and we didn't want to drive to Park City. The restaurant at Black Rock Ridge just were not favorable to it. And so we cook at home versus going out on a patio on a boutique hotel that has candles, that have chandeliers, that you can sit outside. It's what our community needs. And Ryan and Jenny have a vision that if we embrace their amphitheater, the outdoors, and so I don't know why you're opposed to a commercial hotel, boutique, small, and I need to learn more why you would be.
Open for, I've never said that. Like I said, I would just like to know what's going to be put there.
Correct. So it's hard to say what's going to put there, but you know your neighbor. So somebody who builds next to me across the street, I know that they have to follow the rules. And so if you have an architectural design, you can approve that and the operator, so you know what you're going to be looking at. That's most important, and you need the operator. But there are some risks that we take as neighbors to this hotel. There are some risks. You can't mitigate them all, but you have to know the developers and their passion for it and what they want to bring, and you have to listen to that. And I've been listening to this, and I must say, I haven't listened to many, and that's why I wanted to wait and hear everyone and hear you, because I do like contrast, and you brought up contrast, but there's a way to work around it and do it with a vote and with an architectural saying we this is what we want. The height can only be so far, and it can't just be all stucco, or it just can't be all this or that. You want it to be beautiful to fit into our neighborhood, but I'm looking up at it, and I'm in Hideout. So you wanted somebody representing the Jordanelle side of the street, and I'm right across the street from it. So I just wanted to mention that, and I totally support Jenny and Ryan, and I know what they can create, what they have created, and what they will create. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I raise my hand? I'm not on Zoom. I'm here in the room.
Mr. Boone.
Mr. Boone.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm on Reflection Lane as well, just a lot, so future homeowner. And again, not bordering the property that's at hand. And I really hate to end on a more negative note, because I think Jenny and Ryan have been so great at being, really pushing more of a positive vision. But just from my own observation, the sort of grubbing and grasping approach with which some members of the Planning Commission have dealt with the Bloom project has been very disappointing just for me. I think the degree of entitlement has been appalling. I think the Planning Commission should be representing the town's interests, which should be a minimum bar, which Jenny and Ryan are far, far exceeding, but it often seems like a lot of these issues are about some members' own personal interests or personal desires about what should be there because they think they should personally control what is built on that land. And I think that's really distasteful and sad. And it would be great if the Planning Commission approved the plan. So that's what I've got to say. And I'm sorry to end on more of a sour note.
Mr. Boone, if you think this is personal, you should just mention my name and call me out rather than, a subterfuge.
Yes, I think you're one of those people who has a sort of idea they should personally control what is built on the land. And I think that's disgusting, yes.
Yeah. Have a nice night, sir.
he is a fellow resident, Tony. I think that everyone, this is why we do this. Everyone has a voice. It's a very important part of the process. I just want to thank you all for the time that you put in, because yes, we've been to many meetings. You've also been to many meetings. So thank you all, and I appreciate the time.
I think Brian has something to say.
A non-Zoomer, the only non-Zoomer here. So I'm Brian Cooper, for those online. I live in Shoreline Phase 1, and my wife Rachel is on the commission, full disclosure, right? And I just want to give my perspective as the former chair of the now defunct Infrastructure Committee, which I think we ought to revive, which reviews these things, and comparing this to the previous Boulder development is like a light night and day. I mean, just, you guys have done such a better job. You've addressed all the infrastructure issues that I had with Boulder, right? Also as a part-time snow driver for the town, right? I can see, from an infrastructure perspective, it's a much better, more sustainable, less cost for the town to maintain, right? Once it's turned over to them. I like the project. I think there are some issues that Tony has raised and some other folks. There's basically some I's that need to be dotted and T's need to be crossed very quickly. I say my opinion is, I agree with the developer saying there's no way they can sign up a hotel at this point without even the zoning being there in the town. If the hotel developer wants to come in and spend, $100 million to build a hotel, whatever it is, several, tens of millions of dollars to build a hotel, they want some assurance the town's going to support them. I wouldn't commit to anything. I wouldn't even spend, a few $100s an hour on my attorneys to look at that until I know that the town wants to have something, and that something is something that I might provide, right? That it makes sense, that fits what you guys are obviously trying to work on. So I think putting in whatever provisions you want for conditions on the hotel. I like the idea of the flexibility of having the restaurant in or out, right? I think that's smart, because both ways will work. There might be some advantages of a separate restaurant just for local people wanting to go, don't have to go through the hotel lobby or whatever to go there, right? It's a separate. Me, I'd rather just go to a restaurant. And have it be affordable, right? As opposed to Black Rock, which is not, right? The food's not that great, it's kind of expensive. I think Glennis had the great idea to say, let's quickly, we have to renotice this anyway, within those 10 days, let's work out those I's and T's, right? And it shouldn't take much to do that. There's a few things on the nightly rental has to be put in anyway. Get the final version out there and then have this special meeting for the commission to sign off on it. Probably on a positive note.
Are there any other questions from the public or the commissioners?
Recording in progress.
Okay, I see no more questions. So we will close the public hearing portion of this meeting. And Thomas, correct me, and Alicia, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we put this over for a date certain, which is the 2nd of November.
That's right, at 6
At 6 p.m. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
One quick question, Katie.
May I?
What company do you work for?
I work for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Utah Properties. That's a mouthful. And I'm a senior managing director of the commercial division.
Okay, so Berkshire Hathaway. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Nothing further.
Just a technical issue. Could I request that we close the public comment as to the MDA, but continue the public comment as to the ordinance, which will be noticed for the 2nd? And then that way we only have to take public comment on the one the next time around.
No, because
Okay.
the NDA is going to have specific language in regard to the rentals in the hotel, and the public should be allowed to comment.
Okay, so we'll leave the public comment open on all items.
Yes.
Okay.
Public seems to like it, so we're fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
We're sounding negative for fun.
Yeah.
If we have nothing further, I move that we, end the meeting.
Adjourn.
Do we need a
Do I have
motion to continue this to the special meeting?
Okay, in that case, I move that we renotice everything and have a special meeting at 6 PM on November 3rd. Second, sorry.
And I'll second that.
And to continue this as well, yes.
Yes, to continue.
And we'll take a vote on that. Glynis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Tony's a yes. Okay. There being no further business before the commission, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, Glynis,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
I couldn't get hold.
Joel,
Yes.
and Tony's a yes. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you all on the second.
Thanks all.